This is a test of the City of Palatka audio system. Yep, now it's on.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Student of the Month celebration ceremony. We're always excited every month to honor our students and their parents and their teachers. Without everybody's efforts, this wouldn't be possible. We are proud of our young people. They are the future of our community, and we want to make sure we let them know that. We're going to call out each student's name, and Commissioner McCaskill and Commissioner
Campbell.
Campbell are going to assist me. So we're going to call each of you up and we'll get a certificate, but we're going to have you line up and we'll take photos afterwards. Browning Pierce Elementary School. Brady Pinkerton. Children's Reading Center Charter School, Madeline Wilkinson. Hillcrest Academy, Layla Hogan. James A. Long Elementary School, Peter Jaramillo. Kelly Smith Elementary School, Joseph Johnson. Mellon Learning Center Pre through K, Kingston Odom. Mellon Learning Center K through 12, Emily Boyles. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Mosley Elementary School, Canaria Atterbury. Palatka Junior Senior High School, Amara Smack. Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences, Joseph McCoy. Okay. Somebody here for Kingston? Okay, there you go. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay, we're going to try to organize photos. We're going to do them with your teacher. Okay, that's fine. You wanna do that? Yeah. everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Palatka City Commission meeting on April 25th, 2024. We're going to start with an invocation by Pastor Mulberry and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Campbell.
Good evening, everyone. Father, we thank you again for this day. We thank you for your love, for your kindness and tender mercy. God, we thank you for how you watched over us through the day. You brought us together again for another session. Pray, God, that the wisdom be upon the heads of the leadership as they continue to move the city forward. Pray, God, that there are moments when tough decisions got to be made. Somebody got to make them. And we pray, God, that you will give the wisdom that is necessary to do what's right. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. France.
Of course, Commissioner Tammy McCaskill.
Here.
Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All members present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes for April 11th, 2024?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. We're going to move on to public recognition presentations. Proclamation for Historic Preservation Month, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This proclamation was requested by Main Street Palatka. Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month in the City of Palatka, and we urge everyone in our community to participate in historic preservation efforts.
Come on.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. I see there are representatives from the Historical Society, Historical Preservation Board here. Who like to come up and somebody like to keep that proclamation. Nice. Yeah. There's one to everybody. So we'll take some photos. If you want to say a few words, that would be great. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the City Commission, on behalf of Main Street Palatka, I'm deeply honored to accept this proclamation declaring May as Historic Preservation Month for our beloved city. Preserving our history is not just about honoring the past, but also about ensuring a vibrant future. It is about recognizing the stories and the legacies that have shaped us and passing them on to generations to come. This proclamation reaffirms our commitment to celebrating our heritage, revitalizing our downtown, and fostering a sense of community pride. Together, we will continue to protect and to cherish the unique character of Palatka. Thank you to the City Commission for this recognition and all those who work tirelessly to preserve our historic treasures. Let's make this month one to remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a proclamation. Yes, can we? The municipal clerk, please.
Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby recognize the week of May 5th through 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the City of Palatka, and further extend our appreciation to our professional city clerk and her staff for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to our community. And we further encourage our fellow municipalities to join us in commending the efforts of their municipal clerks.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Ms. Krantz, you're going to come up to accept the proclamation?
Esteemed members of the Palatka City Commission, as your clerk and on behalf of all municipal clerks in the county, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to you for the honor of issuing a proclamation recognizing Municipal Clerks Week. The proclamation not only acknowledges my hard work and dedication, but it also serves as a beacon of appreciation for clerks across our neighboring municipalities. I'm deeply moved to see the clerks from Pomona Park, Clerk Almeida, and Interlochen Clerk Payne joining us today. And I know Clerk Hayes and Clerk Allman are with us in spirit. Their presence underscores the spirit of camaraderie and the unity that defines our profession. Municipal clerks are the unsung heroes of local governance, diligently working behind the scenes to ensure the smooth functioning of our cities and towns. From managing records to facilitating public meetings, our responsibilities are vast and varied. Yet it is our commitment to serving our communities with integrity and professionalism that drives us each day. As we celebrate Municipal Clerks Week, I urge both the city and our community members to take this opportunity to learn more about the vital role of municipal clerks. Our profession is often misunderstood or overlooked, but our contributions are essential to the fabric of local government. Let us use this week to engage in meaningful conversations, to ask questions, and to gain a deeper understanding of the challenges and triumphs that define the life of a municipal clerk. Together, we can foster greater appreciation and awareness for the invaluable work that we do. Once again, I extend my sincerest thanks to the Palatka City Commission for this recognition and to my fellow clerks for your unwavering dedication. Let us continue to serve our communities with pride and passion, knowing that our efforts make a tangible difference in the lives of those we serve. Let us now commemorate this occasion with a group photo. I would ask my fellow clerks to join me. Oh, we all bring the proclamation.
Entertain a motion. All right, good. So move, so move. Oh, you just did it. Did we do it already? Okay, I just double checked. All right, I thought, all right. Run it back.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, Employee of the Month.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, once again, as we're embarking on year 3 of celebrating our employees in different departments for their recognition and outstanding performance for any given month, we would like to recognize for the month of April 2024, Officer Michael McNeil.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to once again put a spotlight on one of our employees. On March 24th, 2024, officers received the call of a man hanging from a flagpole. Upon contact, they discovered the man was too high to cut down. While the officers held the individual up, Sergeant McNeil quickly moved his vehicle into position, climbed on the hood of his Dodge Durango, and cut the rope. Sergeant McNeil was praised by citizens and other officials for his bravery, quick reaction to a life-threatening situation. He was also praised for his compassion and personalism shown to the man's wife who was on scene when the incident occurred. Sergeant McNeil is a fine example, and to the fact he was very apologetic at the fact he damaged his patrol vehicle in the incident. Needless to say, it didn't matter to us. We were just appreciative of that he took action and made quick decision and was a proud and prime example of a law enforcement officer for the city of Palatka. We thank you, Chad. We appreciate your efforts and continue with it.
Come on back. Come on back. Miss McNeil.
Thank you. City manager and administrative reports. City-owned property code violations progress update, Mr. Cutright.
You want to say something?
Yeah, before we get started. Ms. Krantz, do you have the slideshow? Before we get started on that, assuming that we can, no, the other slideshow
Which one?
on Bass Tournament.
Oh, the bass tournament. Okay, sorry.
You're good. I just quickly wanted to provide an opportunity to highlight the number of staff members that participated in the Bass Tournament event. And so these are the unsung heroes that make sure that these events occur, that they take place, and that they run smoothly. We had a number of individuals from our Public Works Department, from our Police Department, our Fire Department, and Community Affairs. And so I wanted to make sure that we noted them and the work that they put in and being away from their families on the weekends in order to make sure that these events happen. And so just a quick view of some of the photos from the event. Yep. So it was a very nice venue from the rooftop. That's what we started off with. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Dana from the chamber for her hard work and making sure that this event went off smoothly. The promoters from the event all spoke volumes of Dana and the work that she put in from the chamber and how they would love to be able to come back again. And it's a very good example of why you don't wear black going to church on Sunday if you're going to come out there in the middle of it. But it spoke volumes of Dana and the effort that she put in to make sure that this event went well. They want to come back. This is one of the few venues that they have where people actually come out and support. And so they felt the energy from the crowd. And you see pictures of our firefighters. I did not note the fish and wildlife folks that assisted with the event, but they were out there with us as well. So kudos and thanks to our staff for the work that they did. So with that, we'll move into the first item. Mr. Cutright.
Mayor, commissioners, a couple of commissioner meetings ago, you asked me to bring up information about the city-owned properties that had code violations on them. This presentation should probably give you a quick snapshot of where we at and what myself and Mr. McMillan has been doing to try to remedy them issues and concerns. Next slide. You go to the next slide. So this is the on the right, you'll see the Tillman House, and this is just a quick snapshot. As we know, we have talked about this several times. The Tillman House has several mold and mildew and some rotting and weaker wood that they've been addressing. And to the right, that is the anticipated cost it will cost to bring that up to compliance. Mr. McMillan has took the steps to stay and keep me informed of the things he's doing and also reaching out to contractors to fix the problem. This is the police department, and this is just a quick snapshot of the picture of the roof and some mold and mildew. They're also in the process of remedying that, but right now the anticipation of fixing that is, as you can see, about 117,000. And that is the Willa Cooper building, the food pantry and SMA house in that building. And they have a bunch of rotten and weakened wood and mold and mildew around the soffit. And the estimated fixing of that is 45,000. But also, what I was saying earlier, Mr. McMillan has put actions in plan in action to kind of get these buildings up to speed. Next slide. Yeah, okay, this is across the street, annex building. Actually, Mr. McMillan and his staff brought this building in compliance with the pressure washing of the building and removing some of the vegetation on the side. Next slide. This is the Laramont Center. And we actually actively have a pressure wash company coming through to take care of all that stuff. And similar thing to the white waterway building. And we're gonna do some pressure washing and also some deteriorating paint. That is the train station. The violation that we could see was actually some of the, I guess, remnants of old blind mosquitoes that y'all have around here, and also some stuff in the mold and mildew up area, but they came and pressure washed it, so they actually brought that in compliance from what we could recommend. Next slide. That is the taxi terminal, boathouse marina now, I guess, is going to be. But as you can see, the violation that was in front of us, and as you can see, the fix on the right-hand side where they pressure washed the whole building and brought it into somewhat compliance. And then again, before we move forward, the compliance is what we can see from the sidewalk. So it might be some issues with the building, and Mr. McMillan can give you more information about that once he get into the mediation of fixing the building for us, deep diving into the wood and all that stuff. Next slide. This is 1010 Ocean Street, which is the Public Works building. It is a work in progress. I'm just going to leave it at that. Next slide. All right, and this is your own building you're housed in right now. It had minimum damage, but actually they pressure washed the whole building and actually hit some of the areas that had some major mold and mildew issues. And that's the Jenkins area. We had, when we first moved there, we had several semi trucks parked on the side, and we have kind of got that remedied, and actually we don't have any issues as of right now. And then we get into some of the dollar rental or some of the city-owned properties. That is 1001 Madison Street. Actually, it has some work done, and actually we've been addressing that issue for the last year, so you're aware of that situation. And that is the airport, which actually all that's been remedied, so that's been taken care of. Next slide. And then this is some of the success stories that we have for other properties. Actually, you know, as you see, we had a lot of vegetation over there by the lodge. Joe and Dale staff came out and kind of treated what they could. Some of that part is belong to the state, but they did what they could, and as you can see, the finished product. Next slide. And this is where we still in work in progress. Next slide. All right, so with this 127 Azalea Circus speaks for itself. You see on the left was the way we had the remedy. They demolished the structure, and that's what you see right now. Next slide. Same thing there with 900 River Street. On the right, we had major issues with the building. Their remedy was to demolish the structure. Next slide. Same. Next slide. 508 North 14th Street. Same remedy. Next slide. There you go. We just had that one last commissioner meeting, which 404 South 13th Street. It went from left to where it was at then to where look on the right. And I think that is a true depiction of what we want Blight to Bright to be. And there we go. The rest of the pictures are more of city properties, not city property, but community properties. So if you had any more questions, I can answer those. If not, Dale will give you the breakdown of what it's going to cost to fix the buildings that we showed you.
I just want to give you a commendation for all the well work you guys did, putting in the work that you did. we setting an example for the rest of the community so that they can see that we're also not just imposing fines or whatever as it relates to getting their properties up to date, but we are also doing our work as well before we re-implement our programs again. So before we impose any more fines, we thank you guys for getting our house straight before we get back into action again.
So that's what we're trying to do, Commissioner. We actually have the code enforcement process is the lengthy one, so I would give you kudos to Mr. McMillan and his team that he's keeping the code enforcement department informed of what he's doing and the process is going to take.
Right.
Some of the buildings that you have is going to take several months to get in compliance, but the things he could fix, he jumped on when they did fix.
And this is a true example of what good looks like. Appreciate y'all.
Yes.
I have a question. A lot of those city-owned buildings look like it could be preventive maintenance. So if we go out there on a regular basis and just example, pressure wash. I seen pressure washing $3,000, $15,000 to just pressure wash some of those buildings. Now, we have facilities, guys. Are we gonna have our own folk continuing that maintenance, or are we gonna wait until it get that bad again?
I
wanna know what the plan is.
Before I turn it over to Mr. McMillan, I can answer that question. That is one of the things he's been putting together, a preventive maintenance plan and actually a regular quarterly cleaning of all the facilities. But he can give you more detail, but we had talked about that before.
Yes, sir. To be more specific, we've gone through and done assessments to be able to regiment a schedule of maintenance and then begin building a budget to request in future years to maintain a level of service for these buildings to keep us in compliance. One of the major issues that we've struggled with in the past is actually adequately funding and staffing some of these activities. So this year we're heavy on contracting and that kind of puts a lot of the fires out. But we're trying to shift more towards, internal maintenance, at least at a lower level. The volume of work that was completed mostly had to be contracted up because of our staffing obligations, but our goal going forward is to be able to try to maintain those things in-house as much as possible.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, council, commission had expressed some concerns about city-owned property. And as a result of that, we're bringing this back for you for a presentation. You have a list of the city-owned property. The Blight to Bright program, for all intensive purposes, has been very successful. And I'd like Ms. Carty to talk about what that means in terms of dollars and cents quickly before we talk about what the cost quotations look like in order to bring the rest of our facilities into compliance.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, everyone that's here. So what I wanted to do was to go back at least to the fiscal year that ended September 30th, 2018, and get an understanding of what kind of revenues are coming in because of the code enforcement effort. And what we were able to determine, or I was able to determine, that we went from a baseline of 18,000 in the year that ended September 30th, 2018. And for this current year that we're in the midst of, we've already brought in $106,000. A lot of that, some of that is related to, it seemed like we have new efforts with the legal lien fees and so forth. And we also have vacant property registration. Well, the most important thing is that the revenue stream is increasing as we are putting forth the effort to bring the city into compliance. It is possible that more explanation can be made, but that's what I'm saying generally. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
So we have a spreadsheet for you that outlines what our projected costs look like in order to bring all of the properties into compliance. And Mr. McMillan is going to speak to that.
I'm gonna do the shuffle up here tonight. Okay. Actually, I'd like to start at some of the successes we've already had early on. And if you go down to about the middle of the sheet where the two yellow lines are, it's hard to read, but the commission has already successfully funded the repairs for the Tillman House at $125,000 and successfully funded the roof replacement and eventual gutter and I guess windscreen replacement and pressure washing and painting of the police department for approximately $117,000. We've applied for funding through grants for the Bronson House. That is a much larger project in scope. And it's something we were not really anticipating to try to address with the immediate actions that we've got until we hear back from the grantor. But what we've got right now is a need for approximately $133,000 to address the remaining facilities. So I think you saw some pictures of the Willow Cooper building, some deteriorated wood. What we've got is a failing roof and rafter tails that haven't been painted or treated. So the water coming off the roof has started to deteriorate those. So the building needs a new roof. We've gotten estimates for, a roof and then soffits to protect those in the future for about $48,000. The city annex building, again, we've done a tremendous amount of work. Some of that, the majority of which is unplanned due to some water infiltration. But we've pressure washed the building, we've prepped it. One of the major items actually to accomplish on the outside is still to replace some of the rotted wood above the loading dock and above the front doors, and then to repaint the building. And it's pretty critical to note that the painting of the building actually helps us preserve what we're doing in terms of replacing structural elements. That is a preventative maintenance process. And again, kind of putting out the fire, the building hasn't been painted in a significantly long period of time. But if we get this taken care of, we can just maintain it going forward at a much reduced cost, at least year over year. The Larimer Center, actually, as of today, we've got the estimates and we're just working on scheduling to get that pressure washed. That building does not need painting. The Whitewater Way treatment plant, that's the waterworks facility. So we've pressure washed that entire site. We've done a significant amount of landscaping to remove it, of overgrown plants and things that are around there. But there's a lot of deteriorated wood trim, which is fairly ornate. It's dental molding around the top of the building. And to preserve that, we really do need a specialist to come in and start replacing those and then painting it to keep water from entering the building. It's got a very low overhang. What you see at the Price Martin, the $22,000, again, we've pressure washed the entire facility. The roof has changed colors. Before it was kind of a weird brown. Now it's actually terracotta. But when we pressure washed it, we noted that there was a significant amount of paint that came off, and there's some deteriorated wood on the corbels, which are the wooden members that stick out off of the wall holding up the eaves. And so again, that's something we'd need someone to come in and paint. It's not something they can spray. So there's a lot of hand painting and a lot of detail work in restoring that, along with the platform out back. There's just a lot of surface area that has to be painted. And then finally, Public Works building. It's no secret that building has been neglected over the years. In order to bring that up, to conceal the wiring, to address the rotten siding on the side, we would need significant amount of residing and then a large amount of paint for the warehouse building, what's viewable from the street. So again, we've gone through these estimates and we're fairly confident that $133,000, in addition to what the commission has already funded, would allow us to bring these sites back into compliance.
So following the commission's directive, the next steps in this process would likely be to have a workshop. We are asking, given the fact that we have been making progress, we have a plan in place, that the commission consider possibly giving us the authorization to move forward on new code enforcement cases. In the past session, the directive was to hold off on new code enforcement cases. So we would like to be able to at least move forward on new ones. That is a source of compliance that we have, and we've held off on doing that pending the commission's directives. The second thing that we would ask is if you feel that the $133,000 that we project, instead of needing to go to a workshop to evaluate that and look at the priorities of that, we could potentially take funds from the reserve in order to bring our facilities into compliance. Right now, we're in need of $133,000 that we do not have in the current budget. So it would require a budget amendment. And so that is up to the commission. Do you want to go to a workshop, or would you like to amend the agenda here to allow you to take action to be able to give us permission to use 133,000 from reserves? If we were to go into reserves, Ms. Cartier is prepared to speak to what our reserve balance is.
So it's not actually a budget amendment. It would more or less be a budget transfer. And we would be transferring from the reserves 133,000. The impact of that, at the original onset of the budget, our reserves represented 15.6%. Okay, and so if we move that 133,000, we're only speaking specifically about general fund, not the whole city, just general fund. So if we were to transfer the 103,000, then the percentage would be decreased by 0.6. So instead of it being where we started at budget 15.6, we would be at 15.0. However, year to date, if we were to look at where are we today, the balance of our budget is 10 million. Okay, so that 3,082,000, which is what our balance would be after the 133,000 transfer, then that balance would actually represent 28.2% of the remaining balance. So,
Commissioner McCaskill?
and that's where we are actually.
Thank you.
So we don't have access to that sheet. Y'all just presented that to us today. Right now, we didn't have the
Oh.
opportunity
That-
to review this at all. Am I correct? Because I didn't see it in here.
That's correct. The information that is in that spreadsheet was put together today as part of the presentation.
So you'll get it to us,
Yes.
thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Forum?
Ms. Carter, can you do me a favor and please repeat?
The
reserve
percentage?
numbers? Yeah.
Okay, so when we created the budget that we're now living under, the budget for general fund is 20,604,992. Okay, that's our total budget number. The reserve portion of that 20 million originally 3,215,000. And so in that sense, that 3,215,000 represented 15.6% of the original budget number.
So that's not talking about the city of Palatka general fund budget as a whole, correct?
It is only the general fund, not including airport utilities, sanitation, TIF, or anything else, but just general fund.
We know that 15% is way lower, it's lower than the state average. And we should not be at 15 because we were at 27. And how did we go from 27 to 15?
So let me address that. So the percentage that we are referring to at this moment is not the revenue portion. We're speaking about the expense portion because we anticipate a budget transfer. Now, if I were to look at if I can go over here one sec.
Because I would also like to see if we can anticipate what it's going to be when the revenues come back in.
So if I were to go to the revenue portion, our revenue represent revenue, not expenses, okay? Because we're dealing with expenses only because we're anticipating a budget transfer within the expense category. But when we look,
All I'm worried about where
It's the reserve.
where we were carrying 32%, we dropped to 27,
right?
and I don't know how we got to 15.
All right, so let me explain, please. So even today, when I do the presentation on page 6, you will see that general fund is currently at 27%. And that's general fund reserves revenue budget. So the 133,000 would lower it to possibly 26.4, 26.5%.
Right, but I heard 15.
And that's because I was only dealing with the reserves balance in expense, in the expense category, not in the revenue. This,
All I want is the number. I
Okay.
just want the
the
finished-
finite number.
the finished reserve number. That's all I don't want to.
Okay, may I go back then, please?
Just the
All right,
finished
so-
reserve number.
I'll do it again. So the revenue reserves budget balance, right? In all sincerity, will not be impacted by this 133,000 that has been referred to, because we are not going to touch the reserve balance in revenues. We're not touching that. We are only requesting a budget transfer in the expense category. So therefore, the percentage of our reserve in general fund will remain 27% in revenue. It will not change.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what.
Now,
that's all
I explained it more detail
Right,
just to make everyone be on the same
right.
page.
I heard
Thank you.
15.
And that's over in the
I knew it
expense
was
and
at
the transfer.
27,
Right,
and we can't operate at 15.
right. We're currently still at 27% and we'll continue there.
Any additional questions? Okay, how would we like to proceed? Discussion?
I like,
If-
go ahead.
You asked the question, should we continue with the program? I think it was another commissioner that said, wait, was that you, Commissioner Bourne?
I don't know if but
We just got this before us and you all are asking us to make a decision, and based on a quick presentation and this information, I'm not ready to make that type of
And-
decision right now.
And I apologize that this information is just being presented to you today because the ultimate objective was to go to a workshop, in which case this is just information purposes. If we did go to a workshop, you would have an opportunity to go through it and longer.
Wait, you want to move to go to a workshop due to the fact that it's not emergency, so we could go to a
Mhm.
workshop.
Give a
to
direction.
Discuss, yes, sir.
Right,
So I moved to send this to the workshop and we'll talk about it and discuss it then.
Second.
And excuse me, I'm sorry. Is it possible for us to move forward with compliance cases, new cases? Well,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that was the first. What I didn't want to do is, there was another commissioner that said, stop it. So I wanted to give them the courtesy to decide if they want to do that or not.
Mhm.
So who was it, the last meeting? Wasn't it you?
That was Commissioner
Yeah,
Brown.
yeah,
Are
request.
you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, because we're in a much better place than we was prior to. So we're
Absolutely.
making progress, and we want the rest of the city to continue to make that same type progress along with us.
So the motion is to schedule a workshop
And continue
and
with the.
continue code enforcement cases as they,
Correct.
as they
Excellent.
arise.
Great.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, is it the desire of the commission to schedule now or me send out some dates?
Set out some dates.
Thank you.
I think, plus we'll get caught up in that in terms of time,
All right.
please. Hank Bryan improvements update, Mr. McMillan.
Good evening again, specifically related to the park updates and restroom. So again, we've received the, I guess, the final specifications and floor plan from the county engineer. The surveyor is supposed to complete the topographical survey, which will be required for bid and for permitting by the end of next week. So once we have that topographical survey, what we can do is we can put multiple options before the commission to kind of look at different costs for where that bathroom would be located on the park. And, you know, that would come at probably the next meeting. In regards to that is our update. We don't have much else going on other than waiting on surveyors.
Man, it seemed like we could have built a complex. How long it take to build a bathroom? Taking a long time,
Yeah,
but it's near, you know.
I understand, sir. And once we have the bid packet, all the components for that, the survey and the actual final location, the goal is to put it out the bid and come back to the commission with actually a final construction price.
Thank you. Any questions? Jenkins Community Center improvements update.
So, me again, we have wonderful news. As of today, we've received verbal confirmation that we have approval We were supposed to have air conditioners delivered today, which was a month early. Unfortunately, that's been pushed to Monday. So what we will be doing on Monday is proceeding with the execution of building permits. And once we receive final confirmation in writing from the Department of State, I'll go ahead and issue notice to proceed to the contractors. The discussion that we had, I believe 2 days ago, was that the contractor is 4 to 6 weeks out for mobilization once they receive authorization that we can move. Regarding the air conditioners, since we've gotten the equipment in a little early, we've been working to actually just go ahead and schedule that work with them and trying to fit us in. So the crane company should be receiving that equipment Monday at 9 a.m. from what I understand.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, any timeline on the implementation? Just kind of,
Breaking ground for construction, sir?
for Jenkins. Timeline.
For the installation and completion.
So regarding the air conditioner, I still have not got a confirmation of the schedule. That vendor wasn't anticipating receiving that equipment until middle of next month. So we're trying to see if there's availability for the HVAC installation. And again, the general contractor that is responsible for the fire suppression and the re-roof, they stated that if they were to receive a notice to proceed, that they could mobilize within 4 to 6 weeks. Now, their actual re-roof time or their fire suppression time, I do not have a timeline on, but once we do our pre-construction meeting with them, that's where we start outlining those times specifically. They've got to confirm mobilization of all of their subcontractors as well.
Is it any way that you can get for us, commission, some type of whatever your project plan is, so we can kind of see and follow whatever the status of it is, so we can
Absolutely. So as a product of our pre-construction meeting, similar, I like pictures. So my goal would be able to create a roadmap with milestones for us to meet. And I guess, progress on specific milestones. Gantt charts are a little bit busy to put up on there, but I'll try to make it in a presentable fashion so that everyone understands just how fast we're moving or where we have any pain points if we have any.
We just want to know if we have any choke points.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Ms. Cardy, quarterly financial report for the 6 months ended on March 31st, 2024.
Good evening once again. I'd like to, I better wait, I better be patient. Anyway, the most important thing is that our budget is 73,794,159, as stated there on page 1. For 6 months of activity, the city as a whole has generated 27 million. And I don't know if you want to make it larger, but 424,400. And the actual expenses is 19,576,000. So as of this moment, year to date, the city has generated more revenues than expenditures. However, a lot of these expenditures will be incurred during the year as we live, such as those that are construction related. Some of the revenue is in and haven't spent the money fully. Also, the fact that we have ad valorem revenue in, and we won't be receiving more, so we still have to keep living. So we're grateful that it is reflected. There's more revenues than expenditures year to date. However, we still have 6 more months to live. The general fund has generated 10 million as of year to date and have expended 7,857,000. So general fund at this moment is operating at a profit of $2 million. The airport, I believe that's the next one right up there, has generated 567,000, but we have incurred expenses of 582,000. So at this moment, we're operating at a deficit of 15,000. The ARPA is basically a it's monies that we've already had here. We have incurred year to date because of the utilities assistance program mainly. And if you can roll it down just a little bit, Sonny, that's 169,661. So as of March, we had spent 169,661 in the ARPA fund. Okay. And most of that was because of that utility assistant program. And moving on to page 2, the golf course fund is also operating at a deficit. It's generated 72,000 for 6 months of operation, but we've incurred expenses of 109. However, we do expect more funds to come in during the next 6 months. Page 3, Better Place Fund. As so it says 3,794,000. However, the bulk of that amount is because of the loan proceeds. That $3 million that's come in related to Public Works, and we have not yet spent all of the funds. We have purchased it, but we not spent all the funds to do the improvement. So at this moment, Better Place Plan Fund is showing 1,823,000 more than it's spent. But remember, as we complete that Public Works building, that SS is going to go away. Over in utility funds, we've generated 9,682,000 for 6 months of activity, and we've spent 6,918,000. So again, we're operating at a surplus in the utility fund. Sanitation, it's almost operating level because it's generated $2,019,000, but we've spent $1,906,000. So we have a small SS there. The TIF program has generated $953,000, and that's our amount for our ad valorem. We've only spent $60,000, but I'm sure that's where we are. So we have a surplus in the TIF of $893,000. So that kind of explains that $7 million, why it's there, the various funds. If we go to page 4, this is just looking at general fund, just general fund alone, mainly because it encompasses so many of the departments. And what we see is that 32% of the money year to date is from our property taxes. Okay. And 15% is from special assessment, the fire assessment. So that accounts for almost half of the 10 million that's come in. If you go to page 5, citywide actual revenues, oh, hers is different, but it doesn't matter. 37%, again, is general fund, 14%, and this is citywide, is Better Place. 35% of our money is coming from utility, 7% from sanitation. And I'd like to move on to that last page, I believe page 6, one more page, Sunny. And that's the discussion we just had about the fund balance. And so that has not really changed since the beginning of the fiscal year. The revenues are still at 27% for the general fund, 53% for TIF, 23% for utilities, and then what I do, I tend to look at the whole picture and say, whole picture city, 20%. So and that's the discussion on the revenue reserves, budget balance, and percentage.
Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Cotty?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the breakdown.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Next, we're going to open the floor to public comment. Public comments for items not on the agenda, non-agenda items. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please be respectful of everybody. First, Mr. McCaskill, I'm sorry. Please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Obadiah McCaskill. I live at 3310 Krill Avenue. We're having problems in the community, and it's very disturbing for what happened this weekend. It's a slap in the face to do a public figure for what was presented to the public today. with inaccurate information. Commissioner Campbell was there, but the accusation from what was said was not accurate. We have a problem. We have all type of functions going over Putnam County. No problem. But then when it comes down to certain people, there's an issue. Now, there was never no noise Sunday. Now, there was some noise Sunday before that. And it didn't take but 10 minutes to quell that. And see, all this inaccurate information, busting a public figure up like that there, discrediting him, that's uncalled for. I feel like Palatka Daily News owe him a public apology, and the city police department, because Assistant Chief Newcomb was not even there. And he made that assumption talking about the noise. He wasn't even there. And it's sad. We need to come together and stop all this here, because what's going on, we're trying to get families together so families can communicate. We're trying to bring families together. We're not trying to tear nothing apart. We already know we're going to have problems with every function you have. Every function you have, somebody going to go to jail. It's just that simple. So why should you just sit up and just point and discredit people for no reason, especially a public figure? And the ones that's in position shouldn't be making these accusations when they're not true. And I think
Thank you.
that's enough, but I do think he do deserve apology from Palatka Daily News and the City of Palatka Police Department.
Mary, hold the applause, please. Mary Lawson Brown.
Hello, family. I'm glad to see you and I'm glad to be here, except I'm glad I don't have to make a decision about what y'all just got to doing. That budget ain't the play. I came today for a different reason. We see so many things bad going on in the world, and so much hate going on in the world. It's time for us to look higher and look forward. Most people don't realize that you're on the city commission when they comment about you. All of you have a job because you got to eat. When I was there, the city didn't pay enough that we could just do city stuff. All of you have work to do. And I came today to try to help motivate you, thank you, and get you to understand that I left you all with the same: we're better together. And unless as a team with the city, we work together. And I'm not talking about just one division. I'm talking about all our departments, because the work they do out on the field makes us look good here. And to have respect for each other. You might not think it, but I did run a business. I have given it to my sons. And it was unusual because the other field I was in was like the one I had up here when I came. I had men working for me. And back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, women didn't have men all the time working for them. They either stayed at home or had menial jobs. And so I had to adjust to it and have them adjust to know that I wrote the checks. And that's the way some of us have to do it. We have to have that respect for those people who are the boss. And I would like to say that because I think that when I was here, we had a wonderful relationship. When I left, I had no regrets because I left people back that I had worked with who loved me, who respected me, and who work together to make this city the best it could be. For those who don't know it, I stayed here 36 years. I don't know why, but I did, because I thought the city of Palatka deserved all the good it could to help as many people as they could. And I'm here to tell you all that I think, looking at what you're doing, I've been looking at your newsletter. And I'd like to ask you, we have a new city manager. When I sat there, we went through, I know at least 5, they told me 9 ways to try to find a city manager. We want economic development for this town and it to grow and grow right and prosperous like everywhere else. When I go other places, I see people, things springing up, and I know we should have them. But we've got to have the way to go and ask, because sometimes if we don't look for it, we don't ask, we don't get. It's a wonderful thing. This town is a wonderful thing. We have so much to give. Our historic districts have. If we put all the stuff together with our historic districts and the other things we have, we could have the best tourism we want to have here. Don't you all forget that they're having the Bertram Frolics here, and they're doing stuff. They're taking kids out in the boats and stuff. And I want to say and ask you all to continue to love and respect and work together for the good of us. All of us love this town, and we will still work. You'll see me pop up from time to time. I had kids in here yesterday, brought a group of kids in so they could see how government works. And next month, I've got a judge coming over from another county that I'm gonna take on the tour. I'm still doing my tours, y'all. Who else wanna go on the tour? I still take them on the tours, because I think that I don't have a boat no more, they took it. Would y'all please, anybody know how I can get Sam a boat ride, because he gave me $10 30 years ago. He gave me $10 30 years ago so he could get a boat ride. But we have the boats, and we need to explore and expand and love and work together with each other. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lynn Robinson.
My name is Lynn Robertson. I live at 410 South 9th Street. And I want to thank you for letting me speak for a moment, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Ms. Lawson Brown talked about work, love, and respect. I have a great deal of respect for hard work and for truth. You know that I came before you about 2 months ago to talk about my misgivings regarding Mr. Bell as city manager. In less than 2 months, he's created a lot of chaos. It's hard for me to imagine how work is being done when commotion is being created. And an example is, why didn't we get the figures before tonight? Could you make a decision without those figures? No. First thing Mr. Bell did was run down to WPLK and say, I want to be on the radio to talk about the city. He didn't know anything about the radio, the city. Then he decided he would take the GPS off his car, a city vehicle. And one of the reasons was for the safety of his family. And they're in Michigan, so I don't really get that. So I think then we need to come to writing a reprimand in the file of a valued professional city employee, a woman who in her short time here has done an amazing amount of work, from code enforcement to city, what do you call it? City health, and the law, the code for the city. Okay. So Ms. West has done all this and done a splendid job. And when I worked for government, I recall that people, if they had a problem, your supervisor had a problem, he would talk to you about it. If you failed to comply, then he wrote you up. As far as I understand, this never happened. It was based on a whim, based on a personal prejudice, based on one-upsmanship. A public servant works for the good of the people. That's their job. People who are given into self are not public servants, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Best?
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone here should know of me. I'm the only mental health consumer advocate in our county here. And as you can see, I'm more down now, asking for help for people with mental health issues. Most of the time, if you have a mental health issue, you don't know you have it. And if you do know you have it, you're probably stoned or drunk or something. And I'm speaking this way because I'm tired. We need an international clubhouse in our county here. They opened a new international clubhouse in Orange Park. We need an international clubhouse here. They give you housing. They give you some place to go. They give you medication. That you see a doctor. They can place you anywhere in the country you want to go. We have to start being part of this network. At this point, not that I'm ever going to wash my hands because I can't repay people for what they've given me already. A life. I was almost killed in an accident working for the city of New York. They robbed me for $4 million, to give you an idea. I'm not in jail and I'm not in the hospital. I was between the doctoring and the clubhouse. I was able to let it go. Issues like this happen to all of us. Even in school, there's a problem. We need an international clubhouse here. We have Stuart Marchman doing Stuart Marchman wants to do it, which is make money. The international clubhouse does not look for money. They look for people to get better in our community. They do what they have to get your housing. They do what they have to get you Social Security. They do what they have to get the pension that you need. They do what they have to stand behind you in court if you need to go to court. You don't have to go in the hospital. And they tried me. $4 million you took from me and my girls. Anybody else would be in jail or dead at a hospital. I'm not doing that. And I'm trying to teach people that you don't have to do that. But my daughters look at me as little than I should be because I let their future go. To bring this to the county again, help us, help you. And this is for all of Palatka, all of Internet, all of Putnam County. We need help here. They just robbed me for $10,000. How much more do we have to put up? People with mental health issues, we go into places like the Ford company. I asked them for paper to give me a little computer chip and say it's on the computer chip. I drive the car away and it's $28,000 for a 5-year-old car. Now I got to go buy a lawyer to get my money back from you. I don't have to buy a lawyer. I know how to get mine. I went back there 11 days in a row to have the car repaired like they said they would. They have an order of protection against me now. The last day I went there, they're holding the boss back. What are you doing here again? What are you doing here again? What are you doing here again? They're holding him back. Let him go. God bless you. The clubhouse, we need an international clubhouse for all the help that we can get so that we can live comfortably in our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Ms. Kitchens?
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I've been attending city commission meetings and watching them since 1987. That's 37 years. I was on the commission for 9 years. During that period of time, no city attorney has ever been asked to stand at the dais. The city attorney, up until COVID hit in 2019, sat up on the podium sat up at the dais with the city commission. The school board attorney sits with the school board and does not have to go to the dais to speak. The county commission attorney sits beside the county commission and he does not have to go to the dais to speak. Asking Ms. West to come to the dais to speak is basically, dare I use the word, nitpicking and ridiculous. Also, I might point out that no city manager has ever come to the podium and spoken. They used to sit up there beside the commission also. I don't mind if Mr. Bella wants attorneys back to the audience and speak to you all at the microphone here. But asking Ms. West and getting mad at her because she didn't stand up and speak, I will say this. If you all think Ms. West needs to come to this podium every time she speaks, every one of you should come down to this podium and speak here every time you speak. That is ludicrous. No offense to Mr. Bell. He simply does not understand the way things are done in Florida, apparently. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller? Please give your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Holland Miller, address 2520 West Main Street, Palatka, Florida. I'm here concerning events this past Sunday at Hank Bryan Park and after. And I also think that it's a good thing if law enforcement is present to any event, first off. But it was a positive event. A couple of people had a little nonviolent spat. That's it. Traffic flowing good. But what I don't understand is how they trying to connect a shooting that happened probably a half a mile away, 2 to 3 hours later, with what went on at the park. That's putting a ugly face on it. And from my understanding, the person that got shot wasn't even involved with the people who had the spat at the park. That's all I gotta say. But if y'all consider letting that go on, law enforcement will be a good idea to have out there. And I don't think nobody against that. Thank you. That's it.
Please hold your applause. Annie Davis?
Good evening to the commission, other elected officials. My name is Annie Davis, 420 Kirby Street, Palatka. I want to first come and offer another perspective. I read the article in the paper regarding asking Ms. West to stand in the meeting, and I read a lot of Facebook comments that were from some rational, but some pretty extreme. And I just want to offer a different perspective today. I do agree, and what I've observed from the city commission meetings that I've attended and watched live is that the city attorney does sit, because in that position, she's here to support and ensure that the commission is following laws or does not need any legal guidance or direction. At the point of being asked to stand, it was, in my opinion, a different role. It was in response to an appeal. Prior to that, prior to Ms. West speaking, the attorney for the person appealing stood here and presented his case. Ms. West's response was directly related to that appeal, not for a standard commission meeting. So what I'd like to offer in this perspective is that there are different roles carried by one person. And I really want to encourage us to not get caught up in distractions, because there's a lot of work to do in this city. And we spend a lot of time on things that do not directly impact us moving the city forward. So I definitely want to offer that. In addition, just something to respond, a friend of mine asked a question. In this day and age of data and information and newspaper articles and the World Wide Web,
what do we do with all that data? And someone responded, we need to incorporate artificial intelligence more. But I want to say there's a place for that, but nothing will ever compensate or stand in place of emotional intelligence and relational intelligence. And that's what I want to encourage us to focus on. And that's what makes our city better, because we can and have the ability to do that as we live together and hopefully can make Palatka better for all citizens. Thank you.
Elisa News.
Good evening. Calissa Muse. I live at 255 Mango Drive, Palatka, Florida. Good evening, Commissioner, Mayor. My concern is what I read in the paper about Commissioner Campbell. He's very concerned about the community, and what I read was not him at all. He was there, he de-escalated a verbal confrontation, him and Officer Johnson. So I commend both of them. But what we have to do is come together and as a community and be involved. And you all as well, to other commissioners, mayor, whoever want to come out and join the fun. And like Mr. Miller said, officers there being present is a good thing. And you all being there, being present is a good thing as well too. But Commissioner Campbell was there. He responded faster than an officer did. He de-escalated the problem, and so did Officer Johnson. So I commend the both of them. And I do agree with Mr. McCaskill that Mr. Campbell does deserve an apology. And I don't know where it needs to come from, but he does deserve an apology because he was there with his family as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment on general items, something that are not included on the agenda? Are you, okay, if you want to come up, please. I had you for a specific agenda item. Yes, thank you. Is there anybody here for general, non-agenda items? I thought she was speaking to that topic. 1 minute.
She said.
Yeah, Ms. Williams? Please give us your name and address. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Williams. I live at 317 Oliver Street. I would like to thank our commissioners and our mayor for what they have done thus far and what you're doing in our city. I want to address what has happened over the weekend, Sunday, a little bit about the village. I call it the village because that's what I come from back in the day. That's what we called it, the village. And I want to read my response to what I saw on the Facebook page of Commissioner Campbell's, where they had the newspaper report on there. I'll take my glasses off so I can see. For clarification, I have a praying sign. I have been praying for all misleading words that have been written and posted, especially in the Palatka Daily newspaper, front page headline, title, and its first sentence. People gathering together to patronize their city's food trucks and food trucks and vendors while at a city park, while children were playing basketball, football, etc., because I was there, isn't a block party. It's not a block party. I will say there's no excuse for loud music, even though they had music and some of them were louder than they should have been. There were signs posted out there. I saw that, even though they probably were ignored, but they were out there. Regardless of human beings' color of skin, how they choose to handle disagreements and altercations, some call it beef, is definitely a very serious issue in our country and in our city. People not knowing how to deal with their own anger is a very big issue. Unfortunately, this cannot be fixed overnight. The village, the park, for many older adults have good memories with lifetime positive mentors. The village park is a legacy for many people because many people went there as children and how they had people that showed them good ways and even through school and colleges and basketball, football, education, all that was there at the village as my children grew up. The village, the people want to do their part now and give an opportunity to give back and continue this legacy to the younger generation. But it won't be easy. For the heart of many, young and older, as I sat there today and I hear older men saying all kinds of things that only children would do. For the heart of many, young and older, their hearts has been waxed cold with hatred and envy and jealousy and strife, and it goes on. The village, the people, is willing to sacrifice time, money, and their selves for one fun Sunday at a time to show what loving your neighbor as yourself really looks like.
Is there anybody else here for general public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled?
I received one item that came into me about item M, and they wanted to have a conversation about item M.
I also have a request to pull item B. Is there any other items to be pulled besides B and M?
The comments
Yeah, and you're going to, I have your card and yes, you will want to call.
It's in regard to the consent agenda.
Right, and I'm gonna call you up when we get to that item, yes. Thank you. We're pulling B and M. Yeah, is there any other items to be pulled? Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept consent agenda items A through P with the exception of B and M.
So move, second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposition? Thank you. Item B.
Item B, sorry, getting rid of my timer. Resolution number 2024-R97, a resolution of the city of Palatka ratifying the Community Redevelopment Agency CRA recommendation of a budget amendment from South TIF reserves for repairs to 324 River Street, Tillman House, and recommendation of a budget amendment from TIF for Central Reserves for the placement of historical marker and demolition of 300 North 11th Street, Belton property, and providing for Scrivener's errors.
Thank you. Who's going to speak to this? Anybody?
Commissioners, Ms. Krantz just outlined the recommendations from the CRA board that are before you tonight for ratification. Are there any specific questions related to those two items?
There was a request from the public, Ms. Kitchens. I'll defer to Ms. Kitchens to come up for public comment then, so we can. Yes, please.
Legal Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I just wanted to recommend that you approve what the CRA approved, which includes the Tillman House renovations. And that's all that I had to say. I did request that item C be pulled, but I simply wanted to know where the lift station was, and that was all. Thank you.
Did they tell you where it is?
No, sir, and it doesn't say anywhere in the agenda packet where it is. Doesn't give the parcel number, doesn't give anything about it.
Very good question.
I thought so. Thank you.
We get answer?
Brian left because the item was approved. My understanding is for River Street, sir. Yes.
Any additional questions, discussion? You have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. On to item M, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you.
Before we move, Mr. City Manager, can we've asked this before on these items to be more descriptive. Because Ms. Kitchen is absolutely right. There's some things on here that we're approving, and it's not thoroughly explained or given just like that other presentation. So prior to coming to the meeting, we've already requested that those things be descriptive, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cartwright?
I believe I need to read the caption item.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm rotating. Okay, go back to where I was. Maybe. Possibly. A resolution number 2024-R90, a resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, granting a special event permit to Big Homie Urban Life Center for the Family Friendly Fun Day, setting forth the provisions of the permit, granting permission for noise variance and road closures, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you.
All right. About 3.5 weeks ago, Mr. Williams came into our event planning team and discussed he wanted to have a family friendly fun day at Hank Bryan Park. At that time, we vetted the event and looked at things he might need to make sure it was executed. I will say once after Sunday incident happened, he came back in on Monday to amend some things to add more safety measures in place because he realized it was some concerns he needed to address. He actually came in and added some porta potty and extra police officers to kind of offset some of the concern that the community had. The event itself is a 4-week program with the possibility of revisiting it, a 5-week program with a possibility of revisiting it in mid-May to see if we're going to continue it or not. The actual event starts at 4, set up as 3 to 3:30, and then I think close at 8 and tear down at 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Any questions, discussion, Commissioner Bond?
Well, I just think in terms of the concern that came in, at least to me, people were saying that I guess it was prior to this event, the event had already been had out there. So I appreciate them for coming through, doing it the proper way in terms of getting a permit through the city.
Mm-hmm.
But there's concerns came in as it relates to noise. A lot of noise. People say they could not traverse through the streets. So for not only just normal traffic, but you also got to think about EMS and different things of that nature, making sure. I don't have a problem with that, but what I would like for our city manager to do is look at, okay, what is our capacity as it relates to the parks. We really want the parks and everything to be utilized. We got a lot of underutilized parks throughout our city. So we certainly want people to come in and use these parks. But we also want to make sure that our parks are safe. Our streets can be navigated and it can be navigated safely. And we have the proper officers and EMS in place in the event that there's something happen.
Yes, Commissioner, and actually in that situation about the capacity of the park, we actually was talking about this morning to kind of get an idea of what each park capacity could hold to continue to have parking and also emergency egress capability. We are looking at doing some study on that. And when Mr. Williams came in and addressed his concerns and added more officers and actual road closures and porta pods to kind of address the restroom facility concerns that I heard about, I think it's an opportunity for us to give the community something they want, opportunity for the families to have fun. We do have an opportunity to revisit this if something goes along that we're concerned about. We got that in place that we can revisit it down the line to move on forward.
Yeah. So, and the other thing was the number of successive events I don't have a problem with it if it was, especially if it was spaced out a little bit more, but you're impacting the same community one week after the next. So from a conditional standpoint, I wouldn't mind approving that, but at the same time, we gotta understand and consider the people who live in that immediate community and the noise among everything else that impact people who are retired. Some people have to work shift work. Some people just need some quiet time. So we got to consider all of those things too. So I guess you consider that in your hours and
Yes.
of operation and.
Yes, because the park is actually open from dusk to dawn. Also, Mr. Williams brought me a petition of people in the neighborhood and the community that lives in the areas that's supporting the event. So that went a long way with our decision too. And one of the reasons why we didn't close it at 9, as he asked for originally, was because of the simple fact we wanted to have enough time to get everybody out. So when they get to that quiet time, we should be there.
So you're saying that it's properly vetted through
Yes.
from the community?
Well, we'll get you up for one
It
minute
was,
for public comment.
I
Please wait.
cannot speak for everybody in the community, but I do have
We'll
a
have the opportunity.
petition here that said that some people from 404 down or 410 down or 414 that said they was in support of the
That's in the vicinity of the park.
yes.
Right there.
And I guess my only question is because of the number of people, is there really the capacity there, or is there a larger park we can offer another solution, or is that the only solution? It's a question I
Well,
could ask.
We entertained that conversation today with Mr. Williams, also with our team here. As of right now, we're looking at seeing if the riverfront will be an option for him going forward. But right now, with the events going on the riverfront this week, it would be a hard option to have right now.
And my only issue concern is the successive times in that same community. I would like to see if it could move around to different other parks to kind of spread it around a little bit so we're not impacting one community week after week. That's my concern.
I can definitely relay that to the coordinator, Mr. Williams, and see if he's okay with trying to move it to different places and see if we have adequate space and free opportunities for it to be put there. Okay.
Chief,
I-
go ahead.
I have a question. Are we providing restrooms? Because I know the
Yes.
park don't have a restroom.
Yes,
We're not charging him for restrooms, right?
No, he actually went out to get his own restrooms from gotta go.
Why? Because that's a public park and it should have restrooms available. He should not have to pay for a restroom. I shouldn't have to when I go walk out there. So I think that we should at least provide, there's too many people gonna be out there during the weekend. What's not to provide a restroom? That's not a service to Mr. Williams. That's for the entire public.
Well, then do we also need that at every other park? Because
Okay,
I'm
but
just,
park have a restroom?
We've been asking. Yeah, we've been asking.
no, I know we've been talking about the construction one. I'm talking about in the short term, the porta potties, which is what would
And
be
they-
used at this time.
They were out there
Correct.
and they were removed. So if you want to ask Mr. Griffith, who will have more on that history, but I'm saying that we have an obligation to have restrooms at a public park. And we know that people are going to be visiting. I think that's something that we need to address today, and we shouldn't tax Mr. Williams or anybody else for a public restroom.
We can give a direction on that, I think, in terms of having the public park there should be bathrooms available at every park. And so I think when there are special events and not so much special events, we should have facilities for people to use.
Commissioner.
Especially for public space. So I'm in agreement with that. So I think we do need to look at that and make a decision on that tonight.
So
As it relates to the restroom.
So with regards to the restroom, it's my understanding that the city has previously bought a mobile restroom that could possibly be utilized at that park during that time frame, which would allow the citizens to have an opportunity for those that have to go to the restroom to utilize the restroom. Is that mobile bathroom a candidate to be moved at that facility, at that park, if this was to be passed?
Yes, I mean, it's a mobile restroom, so we could, as long as we can find adequate ground space of balance of ground to put it there, it could be mobilized over there. The only event we got leading up that will conflict that is this Friday night with our softball at Booker Park. Other than that, it's free to be moved. We'd have to get with Public Works staff to move it probably Saturday or Sunday morning, but also make sure it's cleaned out before we move it because we have to dump the tank before we move it.
Any additional questions? Go ahead.
No, I
Commissioner.
mean, the only other thing is that, you know, from my, my vote standpoint, I just want to know if we can talk to Mr. Keith, about the frequency and the number of events and if he's willing to move it around to maybe some other parks as opposed to hitting the same location, for 6 weeks.
I have some concerns. And my concerns would be if this was to go before and given in consideration what Commissioner Borm has stated with regards to the possibility of moving the gathering of sorts to a neighboring or another park, being what's presented to us today, being that it has the dates that leads up to June the 2nd, what would be the proper protocol in order for us to take in consideration those future dates if Commissioner Baum has given directive for it to be considered to be moved to other locations? How would that be handled? That may be a question that has to come before legal, being that this is a binding document that has been submitted to the city and properly vetted going through the process.
Commissioner Campbell, I would probably make it conditional based upon how your first couple events go. We've had 2 unpermitted events. We're going into now the permitted events. We're getting instructions on, changing the resolution to include restrooms and increase law enforcement. So I would make your approval conditional and subject to review at a later city commission meeting after you've had the opportunity to see how the events go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, Mr. Cartwright? If not, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Teresa Burnett. Please come up and give your name and address for the record. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Teresa Burnett, 704 South 15th Street, Palatka. I'm here this evening to voice my concerns regarding the permit application filed currently on the consent agenda for a special event at Hank Vine Park. I am neither a public speaker or a politician, but when you give permission for guns and violence to come into my neighborhood, it's time to get involved. Respectfully, it is in your charge as city commissioners to make decisions in the best interest of the citizens in this community. Based on the events on Sunday, April 21st, I implore you to consider this with great anticipation of the public having concerns about it. I speak for myself, but many of my neighbors have great concern for impending violence to continue if these events are approved. As if the violence was not enough, there remains the issue that the shooters in the event on Sunday afternoon have not been identified. The event was held without a permit twice, and violence caused it to be closed down by the police. Then these shootings occurred, whether or not they were involved. It has been reported that they were. And I'm wondering, is this not enough for you to reconsider this item? Honestly, it concerns me that you even have considered approving it. On top of that are the issues of traffic, noise, and bathroom facilities. Traffic was backed up. I live right across the street from the park, so I can tell you that I was in my yard. Traffic was backed up, and at one point at a standstill on Krill Avenue during this event. The noise level was so bad that one of my neighbors left their house for the day. A truck with amplifiers was stopped by an officer on the street. The driver turned the volume down until he got to the next block, and then he turned his volume right back up. There are no bathrooms at this park, so one man decided to relieve himself beside his parked vehicle. There is not adequate parking for the number of people who attended this event. Any of these issues should be reason enough, but combined should leave you with great concern for the people in that community and neighborhood. The most concerning is that this event brought violence into our otherwise safe neighborhood. There are articles and municipal codes that apply here. I don't have time in 3 minutes to address them. But the noise ordinance does say that community or surrounding neighborhoods may, or complaints of adverse effects upon the community or surrounding neighborhoods may result in revoking permission for use of city property for this activity. I would like for you to consider that. I'm asking you as representatives of the people of our community and my neighborhood to earnestly and diligently scrutinize not only this application, but any application that comes before you. Consider adequate parking, bathroom facilities. Is there reason to believe there could be a residential impact? Base your approval on what's
Excuse
best.
me, will you please finish up? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Base your opinion on what's best for not only the applicant and the attendees, but the community at large. Please don't place these things on the consent agenda. Your community needs your consideration too. Thank you for your time.
Leah Ramsey?
Hi, my name's Leah. I live at 410 South 14th Street, directly near the park. I am definitely not a public speaker. And I had one thing prepared, but I do want to address some of the things that were mentioned here tonight. The noise was definitely an issue both weekends. My house was rattling. There was multiple different music. I would not have a problem, honestly, if the event itself had music and it was louder. I can hear the riverfront at my house when they have the parties and stuff. So, you know, I understand that. The traffic was definitely an issue. There were people, at one point, somebody parked in front of my driveway for about 10 minutes. When they were cleared out on Sunday, this past Sunday, there were about 130 cars that drove past my house in about a 15-minute period. It is concerning. You know, I agree with Mr. Borum about maybe seeing to move it throughout the community. I think that would be good for the community, honestly, to have it in different areas, different parks, things like that. If the goal really is to have community built and people brought together, I have no problem with that. I am concerned with the propensity for possible violence that is brought with the crowd that came, because I don't believe that most of these people are from our area. Definitely not from this neighborhood that they're in right now. I've been there over 10 years and it's a quiet neighborhood. You know, we don't really have a lot of issues there. And it was disruptive to our weekend. My boyfriend goes and visits his mom on the weekends, and he had a very hard time getting out both weekends to go and visit his mom. So I just want that consideration to be taken in to account of the impact that it does have on the community as a long lasting event. And there was visible alcohol being consumed, so that is another concern. I did not see it on the request that was put in as alcohol being allowed or consumed there, so I think that should be taken into consideration as well. But I appreciate your time.
Bill Hicks? Name and address, please.
Bill Hicks, Palatka Masonic Lodge, 1334 Creel Avenue, and I'm the current master of the lodge. As a fraternity, we were opposed to the magnitude of this type of event being held. And that Sunday night, if we had any thoughts of having a communication at our lodge, it had to be canceled because we could not park on our own private property. We only had one way to get in, both us and the city police, and we had to back out to get out. So that is a great issue. I'm going to pose just one question to commissioners. If you're going to consider granting a permit for this type of event, have you thought about the residents of this community neighborhood and what effect it's going to have on them all? I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Theodore Barker.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Theodore Barker. I live at 4030 Olaf Street in Hastings, Florida. I'm the District Deputy Grand Master of the 11th Masonic District. I'm here representing the most forceful Grand Master of the Masons of Florida. The parking is something that really needs to be considered here, because if you're going on trespassing on other people's property and parking your cars there without permission, I don't think that would be a great thing to do. And I don't know, was there a permit for this party at all? There's no permit pulled for 132-27, the code. So what we would like for you to do, if you're going to have that party there, instruct these participants not to park on our property. That's just like if I would come, I had a friend live across from you, and we had a big party, and we come park in your front yard up on your grass. We greatly appreciate if you're going to have those parties there, that they do not park there. We don't want to have to fence the place in. We enjoy parties. We enjoy people having a great time. That's what Masons are all about. We help the community out, and we like to see people gain in their neighborhoods and become, have fun, enjoy themselves. But I would like to ask the commission to please consider they not park in that area. Thank you.
Sam Willis.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, distinguished audience. I've lived in Palatka longer than just about anybody in this room, with the exception of Mary Lawson Brown, maybe Allegra Kitchen, and a couple other people. I've lived on Krill Avenue and South 13th Street since 1963. I've lived 300 feet from the park, just like Miss Burnett has lived 300 feet from the park in the other direction. I can tell you about all the times when there's excessive noise. I have a house that's over 100 years old, and the windows shake when there's a party. There's private property violations that occur. There's alcohol violations that occur. And I did look at the Muni Code a little bit, and Hank Bryan Park is not one of the places where you can have alcohol. People do park everywhere they can. They park in the Masonic Lodge parking lot. I went through the parking lot of Hank Bryan Park, and I couldn't find delineators that would give me an accurate number, but give or take, there's probably about 18 parking spaces in the park itself. That park is not designed for a large scale activity. The streets surrounding Hank Bryan Park, 14th, 15th, Diana, are not designed for a large scale party. So as our elected officials, it's incumbent upon you to look out for everybody, especially the taxpayers, especially the voters. And I ask that you look out for the people in the neighborhood. And at this time, I would like to have the ladies of my neighborhood all stand up. Come on, stand up. Anybody that's with me on this? Bill, John, come on. Now, this is just a few people. Most people won't come down here and buck the system because of the mob mentality. They're afraid of repercussions. They're afraid of their house getting egged, or, their cars getting rocked.
Okay, stop. Let him speak. It's public comment.
This is my 3 minutes.
Didn't have a problem.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. And so you can check back in the dispatch logs of the sheriff's department, which is where all calls go to. And I will guarantee you that there are more calls that don't get logged into the CAD system because these things occur during a daylight hour. And when somebody says it's over at 8 o'clock, that is horse feathers. I can sit on my porch and smoke a cigar till it's almost midnight, and there'll be still things going on over That's all I got to say, Madam Mayor. Just deliberate carefully, but don't give in to the mob mentality.
Allegra Kitchens.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I'm speaking loud because the audience in the back is talking consistently and making fun of the people that have problems. I resent that. Everybody has the right to say their opinion. People weren't made fun of when they approved this event and talked about it. I ask the same respect for me and everybody else is up here speaking. That being said, Mr. Willis is correct. Hank Bryan Park was never meant for any large event. 18 parking spaces, not for 300 people. And I saw the photograph. I know there was a bunch of people there. This event is so big, it should be at the Riverfront Park, period. The Riverfront Park has the parking spaces. The Riverfront Park has the space. It would contain it completely. They wouldn't have to go anyplace else. Have the event there. Do it the right way. Bad behavior should never be rewarded. They have done this twice with no permit. But that's not twice, folks. Back on June the 15th, 2020, headlines in the Daily News, arrest made after police break up large party over on Catherine Street. Same complaints, same problems. And at that time, Miss Evans was going to work with the city. And I quote, Yvonne Evans and Bellamy said they hoped that the outcome from Saturday would help the venue start a dialogue between the city and getting the paperwork done ahead of time. They have not done the paperwork ahead of time. But regardless of that, now after the fact, they're doing the paperwork. It should not be in a small residential park that does not have the parking space. Have it at the riverfront. The riverfront has the space for the parking. This has not got anything to do with race or a damn thing about it. It's got to do with noise and aggravation. And I could hear that crap at my house on Sunday, and I thought it was some of my neighbors, and I went out fixing to give them what for when I realized it was a crossover on Krill Avenue. This has got to do with common respect for the citizens of a neighborhood. Nobody in this room would put up with that in their neighborhood, yet several people here want it in another neighborhood. That is not right. And let me tell y'all something. You look at your special event things, section 5081 through 202, there's 20 or 30 things you're supposed to look at before you have a special event. But let me read you the first thing. It is the intent of this article to provide minimum standards for the regulation of special events held in the city for the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the participants, as well as the residents and taxpayers of the city. Provide for the welfare of these party goers. Have them had it at the city park. Have them had it at the riverfront, not in a small city park like Hank Bryan. Hank Bryan was never designed for large events. And as far as if you decide to do Hank Bryan Park and you do every weekend, you're setting precedents. There was a church that was meeting at Price Martin every Sunday. About 4 years ago, they were denied, saying, "Oh, you can't rent out a building to the same person on a regular basis." Yet these people are asking for you to rent out the park. If you're going to do that, how about leasing it to them like you do the Tillman House to the Art League? Have some respect for the citizens as well as these party goers. Send them to the Riverfront Park, let them party, and let the residents have peace. Thank you.
Also, I at this point, before anybody makes the motion one way or the other, I think we should ask Ms. Chief Shore to come up and tell us about the weekend, because there were also some negative comments made about the police force, and I just think we need to hear what actually happened and have some accurate information.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. First, I just want to address some stuff and rumors that was expressed throughout the community, and just from our point, set this straight. We've already viewed the body camera, also communicated with Lieutenant Johnson, and in seeing that, we viewed Commissioner Campbell's request as a simple request, not as a demand, and not as an intent to interrupt any of the law enforcement duties. Lieutenant Johnson had the opportunity, after speaking with Commissioner Campbell, to not only call in additional assistance, which he would have done anyway, but to speak with them, meet with them, and still complete it within the time frame allotted. Our body cam footage, as you've seen, it's been posted as 31 minutes. Commissioner Campbell just asked for the requested time to finish the event. And that was done within a very respectful manner and as a request. And I also applaud Lieutenant Johnson in his manner. He went about not only addressing the crowd, but the issues to get it cleared in a peaceful way. As it pertains to the event within itself, I think the event, and I've expressed it to you all, most of you all already individually, as well as to the city manager and Mr. Cutright. As it pertains to the event, I do believe the event in its infancy, it was a great idea. It's something that's going to allow the community to come together in a positive manner, things that we need to see more of. And knowing my background for community efforts, I'm all for it. In the current state, as we see where it stands now, the size of the event is much larger and has outgrown the venue. I believe strictly that's not necessarily a negative thing, that's a positive thing. But I think we need to look at with the fact of how it affects the parking, how we are limited with services at the park, that the possibility of moving it to another location should really be taken in consideration. And I gave some of those examples to you all when I spoke to you all privately. We at the police department, in doing so, we're looking at both avenues, whether it is at the park or whether it is moved to a different area. We've asked to increase security. Mr. Williams has accepted that, and Mr. Cutright expressed that to us. And then we asked to, as far as the complaints that we began to receive from the residents and how it impacted the residents, we asked that we make sure the footprint, the map, made sure it took care of the parking that addressed the lodge, as well as the bathroom issues. So all of our issues that we requested be met was met for us. And we understand that our presence at the event, our presence will make sure it deters the music issues as well as any illegal activity that may have happened or would have happened if we weren't there. So we're prepared to move forward if this event is approved and if it's held at the park or whether it's moved to a different location. We're prepared to do as you request to be able to put a safe event forward, not only for those who are hosting the event, but the citizens and the residents in the community.
Any further questions or discussion?
Well, my only discussion was, and normally you would have the applicant here to be able to ask the question in terms of having it potentially just shared around a little bit to Hank Bryan and move it around to different parks if at all possible. I just hate to see it hit the same community back to back to back to back because we're gonna have amplified noise. Am I correct?
Yes.
Amplified noise.
Yes.
It's on.
Okay.
Amplified sound, road closures, and law enforcement.
Right. In addition to then in terms of parking and different things of that nature, sound like the lodge don't want anybody parking there, so that's off limits. So it's going to spit. Either people got to be brought in, or there's going to be some other additional parking that's impacting in the community, whatever. So I'm just saying you only got 18 parking spaces in the park, right?
But I don't have an exact number for you, but it's about 18 to 25 at best on in that parking spot.
And
and then some of the overflow was going to be 13th Street right there where they had the side parking going down there.
Right. So, with your class B, you got from up to 1,000.
101 to 1,000.
101 to 1,000. 101 to 1,000. So just an example, if we was at even 500, if you got 2 or 3 people per car, then you still got way more cars than the area can handle. So my whole thing is, how would we get the people in and out to the location? Because for just concerns of emergency concerns, that's my only issue. But I see it moved around. I'm all for filling the parks. I'm all for having fun and safe fun. But I certainly don't want to impact the quality of life for people in the communities as well. So I want the right balance.
Commissioner Campbell?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I want to make it known to the public that the concerns that have come from the dais, from the fellow commissioners, have been conversations in which I've already had with Mr. Cutright. And I actually asked them on tonight that they come prepared with an alternative to what has been presented as a result of conversation, dialogue, misinformation that has been placed out there. So a lot of these questions have been some that again have been already some pre-vetted prior to coming to this meeting in hopes of moving forward. Because one thing that I did not want to do is the individuals that worked so hard to bring the community together was them to walk away and feel like nobody was able to support them or fight for them to have the right to peacefully gather in a park that is meant for citizens of this city and alike. So I wanted to make it known that some of these requests that have been made have already been made just behind doors, just because, again, I wanted to make sure that there were solutions to the problems that had been presented prior to what was published in the newspaper.
Mayor, you have any thoughts?
As I'm kind of with Commissioner Borum. I think it is possible, given the number of folks that attended, which is great, that it's outgrown the size of that park, and maybe it's a better location would be the Riverfront Park, frankly, where there is more parking, there's no residential right there in that immediate area, and that would be a safer situation and a calmer situation for everybody, and have less negative impact to the surrounding neighborhoods. That's my only thought, but again, that's my opinion.
I'm on board with the mayor and Commissioner Borum as well, but I would like for the applicant to be here and have input.
I just texted him to see if he could come down, or also I texted him and asked him a question about if he would be okay with moving the event to different locations in the area, in the city. Just waiting on a reply.
And again, the attorney said we can move forward with conditional.
Yes. With the condition.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Go ahead, sir.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, because it may be.
Finish your thought.
We already have 5 weeks out, 5 weeks.
Six.
Plan 6 weeks plan.
This weekend to June the 2nd.
I'm in support of the events due to the fact that I know the importance of the event. The purpose behind it is to try to bring the community together. I have had phone calls in reference to some of the leaders of the events, speaking of they're trying to combat this gun violence. And I respect Ms. Burnett, Ms. Kitchens, and all of you guys who come up here in reference to your neighborhood. But let me just tell you, that kind of behavior and gun violence is all throughout the city of Palatka. It's not just one neighborhood. Okay? We could turn a blind eye. And it's good that a lot of people do say, not in my neighborhood. And that's what it sounds like. Not in my neighborhood. But these are citizens of the city of Palatka. So what if, and I applaud the group for bringing it to us because they didn't have to. You could go to any park. You could post up. You could just tell word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. Through that pipeline, you could go to any park and have a crowd of 200 or 300 people, and they could do the same thing. Then law enforcement would be ill prepared. We would be ill prepared. And the neighbors who's going to be in their household hearing their windows rattle, they're going to be ill prepared. So my suggestion is we find a way to make it happen safely, a safe environment. The frequency, that's up to whoever want to do it. However, I really applaud folk that are trying to combat this gun violence, period. We're forgetting it's a purpose behind it. So really what this thing look like is you go to Fleming Island, you go to Oak Leaf Plantation, where they have food truck Fridays. And you're going to see hundreds of people out there because on a weekly basis, they bring the vendors out and folk come out to music, the things like this. Folk, besides the loud music, because I empathize with you on that, but large crowds, they're going to happen. We're saying that that park is not designed or built for crowds of that size.
It's not even a park.
What it was originally, Sam, I I wasn't here. You're the oldest man in this room, so you know I wasn't even born when you was here, right? One of y'all. Here it is. I remember as a youngster playing ball out there, and I'm just gonna say, in Palatka, when it's perceived to be an issue, what had happened in the past, and I wish Mr. Brown was here, Allegra was here. What had happened in the past is they just shut it down, tear it down. And 11th Street is an example of that. They just tear stuff down. The park, back in the day at the park, we used to play to dark, playing basketball, and they had lights. You remember that, Sam? What they did? Take the lights out. They don't want folk over there. Well, why they have lights? We just spending, we spending hundreds, it's my turn. So we spend money now to light it up. We made it nice. Because now it's attractive, people want to go there. So what I'm saying is, we have to find a way, Mr. Cutright, city manager, attorney, I charge you guys with getting together with folk that want to invest in their community, our community, and see different things. It's a cultural thing. It's not really a culture thing. It's actually people getting together for a good cause. Now, and that's everybody's invited to attend. I mean, Sam, I would wish you would just walk down the hill a little bit, smoking a cigar, and go and ask what's going on, or just see what it's really like. And I know you're a people person, so it's not beyond you to do that, and you nosy as well. Yeah. So
Have the back of both dialogues.
so I encourage you to go down and look. Let's try to see some of the good in what's going on. Because I'm telling you, it's not just a bunch of young testosterone-filled people out there that wanna, run around and cause trouble. So I'm just encouraging that. I want the neighbors to come out. Teresa, talk to them. Let the powers that be out there in that park say, hey, listen, the noise is a little too loud. Can we lower the volume? I guarantee you'll get results. You will. You will get the result. And I want our police department to come. That's an opportunity to do some community policing. Okay?
Didn't even get respect.
Okay, okay.
Police
Please.
officer had somebody pull over.
Okay, we're not, public comment is over, sorry. Thanks.
Address me, I was just.
Well, I heard you. This is a rebuttal to what you guys said, because I did listen. I listened to the mob mentality, and that disturbed me.
Right.
That-
Point of order. Calm down. Thank you.
And that disturbed me from up here at this dais. And, in order to get respect, you have to give that same respect if you're respecting that back. So, and my last statement is to the guys of the Masonic Lodge, I think it's a workaround where we could actually, at this point, because I think we're going to go forth here, but maybe putting a marker out. I think they're trying to be good neighbors. Put a mark out so that they will not trespass on your property.
We have 3 out there. One of them got one.
Okay.
Okay. So again, I'm looking for peace and I'm looking for a solution. So I'm gonna leave that as my suggestion and what I feel about this, because I think it's worthy enough that we look into it and we actually try to collaborate with this kind of activity.
Commissioner Campbell.
Mayor, I have quite a bit to say, but I won't say it in this platform with regards to this particular situation. The only thing that I'm hearing as a resounding sound is loud noise, vehicles. Within the last 2 weeks, there was no violence whatsoever. No fighting, no nothing that transpired. It was local vendors out selling products. It was citizens like myself who brought my 11-year-old, my 5-year-old, and my 7-month-old to the park to patronize our local vendors and enjoy a Sunday fun day. Everyone is not able to go to the beach on a Sunday. Everyone is not able to leave town and go to a theme park on a Sunday. But those who saw fit that it was beneficial to have something at a local park are now met with resistance because of something that transpired later in the evening that they're trying to associate and tie to an event for the last 2 weeks that had absolutely no problems. Let's be honest. Let's be transparent and let's have this. And as far as the lodge, I'm completely agreeing if that's what you desire. But outside of that, no one talked about how I stayed after to make sure that the Masonic Lodge parking lot was completely free of any debris that was there. No one talked about how I've stayed back after 7 o'clock when my wife came and got my kids to make sure that that park was completely free of any type of debris. I disagree with 150 cars passing by anybody. There was not even 150 cars there.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I was at the event. I was there for the maximum duration of the event. But then again, I'm very sympathetic of the neighborhood. I'm very sympathetic with the opportunity to possibly have this and move this forward. What I want to see is the individuals that sit in this room come together to formulate solutions that will continue to encourage the peaceful gatherings that possibly could encourage the combating of violence that is happening not only in your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood, others' neighborhoods, that if we continue to show a divide as a city, as citizens, guess what? It's never going to get better. It's going to take everybody that sits under the sound of my voice to come together and move forward so that we can have a better city, so that we can have citizens who are respectful of each other. Soon, you're going to have a problem with them going to the riverfront. So there is truly no solution until the solution involves everybody that's under the sound of my voice, everybody that's commenting on Facebook, everyone that's doing absolutely the most. They're stirring the pot, and instead of trying to calm the pot, to find solutions. That's why I was a part of the event, because I never want to be so separated from the constituents of this city that they feel as if the ones that sit behind this dais are too good to mix and mingle with them in their environment. I did not get elected by the Black Palatka. I did not get elected by the white Palatka. I got elected by the citizens of Palatka, which is a mixed group. So I'm going to mix and mingle with any and everybody that come forward. I reached out because I wanted to be a part of it and show a solution. Hence the reason why I made the suggestion to the organizers of that event to go through the proper process. And as a part of going through the proper process, this is why we're here. This is why we're trying to vet the process. And again, if it's not meant for Hank Bryan Park, find the park that it's for. Find us something that the city has that these individuals or any individuals that see fit to gather on any given day of the week have the ability to do so. That's why I was there. Because I'm a citizen and I had my children there. Why? Because I want them to be a part of this community just as much as I am. I'm not too good. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit, but I don't believe I was wrong by going to a city park, patronizing the citizens of this city alike, providing opportunities for not only my children, but the children of this community that don't have the opportunity to go anywhere else, to come to a park that is fit for everybody. So as we move forward, I implore everyone, even in that neighborhood, I implore you to be a part of the solution and stop always pointing out the problem. Because again, we are trying to connect different instances, but the only thing that I've heard in this meeting since I've been here has been sound and traffic, not shooting, not violence, nor fighting. And that's what it has been perceived into the citizens of this city via the Palatka Daily News.
Okay, as we move forward, how do we want to proceed? Is Mr. Williams going to make it here?
He hasn't replied back, and I actually
Okay.
reached out to Courtney to reach out to him too.
I don't want us to break the cycle of the community meeting together, so I think we need to at least consider, we have 5 weeks, 5 days, 6 weeks, we said.
I got a solution.
We can do a couple of weeks conditional upon meeting again, but we need to consider the bathrooms. I want to make sure that we, again, the bathroom use, so don't forget that, but I feel that we need to go ahead and move forward with this process, at least approving a couple of weeks because the chain is already going, the cycle's already in place. And we can come back
So-
and reconsider.
That's a motion to
Is that a motion?
approve.
A motion to approve with at least the next two Sundays, the next two meeting dates. And us coming back with, at the next meeting with some future dates with input from the applicant.
Next.
Also considering reimbursing him for the money for the restrooms.
We need those portable bathrooms there at that site.
And
City
yeah, he said we
bathroom.
can. He said that we can move the bathrooms there. Am I right?
Yes.
With exception, because they're only held up Friday. So moving those bathrooms there, reimbursing him
Yes.
for the money he spent, and at least approving the next two dates
Second.
At Hank Bryan.
at Hank Bryan Park.
Okay, don't yell, please.
At Hank Bryan Park, and we will have police presence there this time, right?
Yes.
So, and those, and so that's my motion, but I also want to make sure individuals with private property just mark their properties if you don't want anyone parking on it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion. Okay, go ahead. I thought we had a lengthy discussion.
Right.
Go ahead.
Again, yes, Rufus is gonna speak because I want to be clear as to what I wanted from the beginning. And again, it was a conditional thing, but when you do two in a row, it would be conditional based on the first one, but the motion has already been made. So that would, just for instance, how does the event go from the first event?
Right.
And then Mr. Williams was amenable to moving the event around. That was my issue and concern, and not hitting the same community 6 times in a row.
Sure. So Commissioner McCaskill's motion was for 2 events. And if you take a look at the application for the special permit, it's April 28th and May 5th. This city commission meets again on May 9th. So at that time, you will have the opportunity to reflect on those 2 events, see how they go. And if all goes well, you can have another motion for the remaining 4. And at that time, you can make a decision on whether or not you want to change the location. But the current pending motion on the floor that has been seconded is for the next 2 events of April 28th and May 5th to be at Hank Bryan Park.
And reimbursement for that.
And reimbursement.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? I said, and I voted yes, with apprehension about the location, but we'll see how it goes. To be honest, I would prefer it being a location. No, anyway, we're, the public comment, I'm sorry, it's over. I'm sorry. Okay, excuse me, so the motion was basically to approve the next 2 dates at the Hank Bryant Park location with police presence, bathrooms added.
And the reimbursement
And the reimbursement,
for
yes, I
the
think they were more
restroom.
concerned, but yes. You need to let us know as a city or the police.
To the May 9th meeting.
The officers, well, it's a permitted event.
And we need to move on.
So it's a permitted event, so the police officers will be on site. So you gotta have so many officers, you gotta have so many EMS. So it is a sanctioned event that's been vetted. The previous events were not vetted. There was so the police had to respond to calls.
Okay, so but if you have a concern, you need to go to the police department.
No, the police will be there.
Right, but I'm saying you need to speak to a police officer right
Yes.
there.
Right.
That's
That
what I'm
would be
saying,
the-
so we can move up the
This is
agenda.
passed, right?
Yes.
That's the correct process.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next time, we're on to regular business. Ms. Krantz.
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead. Okay.
Resolution number 2024 R95, a resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, authorizing a budget amendment allocating $64,772.54 in additional funds towards the reconstruction of St. John's Avenue from 19th Street to the CSX Road corridor.
Mr. Griffith?
Thank you, Mayor. So just some brief history. I know everybody's probably aware of the history on this project, but I'd just like to repeat it. The city and the county in 2018 joined efforts.
Excuse me, could the audience please be quiet so we can all hear? Thank you.
In 2018, the city and the county joined efforts, and we submitted a MSCOP grant application. That's Municipal Small County Outreach Program. We partnered with the county because they have what's called a LAP certification, a local agency program certification through the Department of Transportation, which allows them to manage FDOT funded projects locally. We were awarded in 2018, and that was for the entirety of St. John's Avenue from Palm Avenue to the railroad tracks. I think you're all aware during the design phase of that, we found out that there wasn't enough budget because half of the project needed to be reconstructed, which means tearing up the road and not just resurfacing it. So the Department of Transportation suggested that we, the city and the county, resubmit for another grant. We did, and we were awarded, and we broke the project into 2 phases. Now, again, the county is managing both phases of this project. One phase per interlocal agreement is under county maintenance. That's from 19th Street all the way back out to Palm, which has been resurfaced. And then the city is responsible for maintenance from 19th Street back to the railroad tracks. That's the section that we're talking about tonight, in which the county is getting ready to move into the construction phase. We received an email from Mr. Stout, and he's on the call with us here if you have some questions. Basically, they gave us a breakdown of the total project budget, and it came in at estimated 2.7 million. Total revenue is at 2.5 million. Mr. Stout said, in essence, they're requesting another 65,000 from the city to assist with some of the construction, engineering, and inspection costs associated with phase 2, which is our phase, our portion of the road that we're responsible for maintenance on. The Department of Transportation did kick in an additional $114,000 towards this phase. But again, the request before you tonight is to utilize Better Place reserves to fund an additional $65,000 towards the reconstruction of St. John's Avenue from 19th Street to the railroad tracks. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, it is.
Go
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Commissioner Barham, go ahead, one at a time. Commissioner Barham, go ahead.
Well, on the, so you're saying that it's 65,000 more, it came in higher, $65,000 more?
It actually came in higher than that, Commissioner, but the Department of Transportation has kicked in some additional funding as well.
Right.
So the
From-
shortfall is this.
Right, well, what I'm trying to look at, maybe timeline and costs associated with it. If we got that additional fund from 100 and some thousand more from the department,
It was $114,770.70.
okay, and it cost 2.7.
Yes, sir.
Well, it was 2.5 and 2.7.
No, the total expenditures to date for the entire project is 2.7. Total revenues is 2.5. So the county, while there is a bigger difference there, they're only requesting another 65,000 from the city to complete this last phase of the project.
I'm just, I know we stay over on a lot of different projects. I mean, we just always adding additional, we always got overages on. I haven't seen a project yet that came in within budget. I'm just saying, it's just, I haven't seen it. So I'm about tired of continue to pay over for these projects. We got to get these things to a point that where we're not continuously paying above and beyond the amount that we set. We should have had some projects to come in within budget. And so I'm not friendly to the 65. I'm not friendly to it, but I'm not going to continue to say yes to overages. I just can't continue to do. We gotta start coming in with the project within budget.
Commissioner Jones.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Commissioner Bourne. And I'm still upset that we had to come back and give $450,000 a few months ago. And that money was allocated for the north side resurfacing projects. Well, not just north side, but those roads were identified. So that money was taken away then. To come back and take another additional $64,772. I agree with Commissioner Bourne. It just seemed like we can't be on target. And they said that 450,000 was additional that was needed, and we must contribute that. Why wasn't it calculated at that time? Same project. So do you have any more you could expound on?
I have information.
Go ahead, Mr. Stout.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. What's going on with the requested funds is that when the project was broken into two phases due to the reconstruction part, CEI was required for the second phase, and for whatever reason was not guaranteed at that time. It was not made for the second phase. We had CEI for the first phase, which was for resurfacing for $107,977. The second phase for reconstruction CEI was never sought, and that is the exact amount that is over by $229,000. We went to FDOT and they pitched in the 114 and change to cover half of it. The 50 that you promised for the other phase plus the 65 tonight will cover total CEI for the city's portion of the project. If CEI had been requested when the project was first granted for the second phase, then it would have been in the original budget. I completely understand Commissioner Borum and your point about being over budget. We're tired of it too at the county level and rejecting change orders. But this was not a change order due to something found in the field. This is a request of funds to cover costs that are required for the project.
Respectfully understanding that, sir. However, you said something that made me feel good that y'all reject those requests. We haven't been rejecting them. We've been just paying it. Just go ahead and approving change orders, approve it. And I think at some point you just can't get butter from a duck, and well.
No, and I get what and when I say change order, I mean change orders in the field. This isn't one that's in the field. This is actually required for supervision of the project. And that's why we're coming forward to ask for the 65 so the project can actually be completed to its entirety.
So understanding that, but what was the 450,000? What was that for?
The 400, the first 50 was an interlocal agreement on phase one if something was required and it was not. Then the 400,000 is because due to the cost of reconstruction of the road versus resurfacing was so high, the budget was 400,000 under what was required for just construction. So your 400,000 actually brings Halifax's contract paid in full to the penny. And we have the EOR is paid in full already for both phases. And so the only part that wasn't paid in full was the part for CEI, construction, engineering, and inspection.
Okay, this is not I guess it is, it's constructive criticism. Those roads have been resurfaced, but it's definitely not the best quality of work. And to continue to ask us to pay and put in more, and this has been consensus with the board. But where are we if we're not pleased with the final project? And I've heard comments from people in the public, constituents saying the same sentiments. It just don't seem like we got the best product.
Are you referring to the resurfacing of St. John?
Yes, sir. So what
Okay,
type
so-
of rebuttal we have when that's delivered to us?
So on the resurfacing part, the budget only allowed for us to do a 2-inch milling with a 2-inch resurface. We could not go down and mill down to the original roadbed in Lime Rock because the budget would not allow it. We could only do what's called a mill and fill, which means they could only take up 2 inches and we could only put back 2 inches and then make the valve adjustments and the manhole adjustments to be level with the road. So although not every bump is gone, most of them are. It's not a perfectly smooth road because it was laid over 3 different times and we didn't have the budget to take up every single surface of asphalt.
So again, there's no rebuttal for the quality of work.
Well, the quality of work is satisfactory once our punch list is over with some of the valve adjustments, some of the driveway aprons and those kinds of things. But other than, is it a perfectly smooth ride? No, because it, again, was a mill and fill. The asphalt that they took up was then covered with the same layer of, a different brand new layer, but the same thickness, which means some of the imperfections that were there were going to remain there because we couldn't mill them out due to budget.
Final question. If we say no tonight, then where are we?
Then I go back to CEI with CSI Geo and let them know that we're in a shortfall of $65,000 and see where we would stop the construction project. And at the same time, go back to the Board of County Commissioners to let them know that the project is under by $65,000 to see if they're willing to do anything about it.
Commissioner Borum?
Yes. I have 2 questions. One is the current, do we have a warranty on the work and how long should this particular improvement, is it 2 or 3 years, 5 years? What are we looking at in terms of this road repavement or whatever from a quality standpoint and the life of it?
I believe the warranty period is a year from the end of the construction. Personally speaking, I think the part of reconstruction, you will be much happier with the end result than you are possibly on the first part, just because it's going to be a brand new road from the base all the way to the surface, if that makes sense.
Okay, so the
As
work
far
is
as longevity, that road will last for several years. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we never talked about a resurface for another 8 to 10 years.
Okay, so I mean, that's what I'm concerned with, because again, I do know from our last meeting that we had, I think we had staff that made comments about the road and the quality of the work that went into it. It wasn't up to snuff. So that's my concern. And I want to just make sure that the monies that we're putting into these roads, that we don't have to keep going back and revisiting them, because we've made improvements across the city with other improvements, and the improvements were not to standard. So I just want to make sure that we have some way that we got some leverage as it relates to being able to get the quality that we're paying top quality dollar. We got to get top quality product.
Another thing that might help with a little bit of heartburn, Commissioner Borum, is FDOT, I believe on May 7th, is going to come out and inspect with their inspectors the first part, phase 1, that's complete, to make sure it meets their standards. And then when the reconstruction is finished, FDOT will come out and inspect to make sure it meets their standards as well, because all of the money is coming through FDOT. So it won't just be us looking at it. You will have DOT inspectors coming in to make sure that they're satisfied with the work as well.
Certainly appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions? Go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Madam Mayor, thank you. So, Mr. Stout, if I interpret Commissioner Jones' question correctly, he was asking with the area that you are managing, what is the recourse if we're not happy with the quality of the work that's being done for that one year warranty? I know you spoke about the area that has already been paved and those issues, but in this area that we're talking about spending the additional 65,000, what is the recourse under that 1 year warranty that we have if we're not happy with the quality of the work?
If anything comes from the reconstruction where there's alligator cracking or slippage of asphalt or anything along those lines where we start to see the road deteriorating at all, then we would bring in Halifax for their 1 year warranty, and they would be required under contract to fix the part that is unsatisfactory. And I would recommend, and my road inspectors, whenever we have contracts like this, we set our calendars 6 months, 9 months, 11 months, so that we go look at these things 3 times before our contract runs out, so that we take full advantage of our warranties.
That's excellent. So if we have concerns that are voiced by our residents and our citizens, do we refer them to our streets or department, or do we refer them directly to the county?
I believe it would be beneficial if they went to your public works first, and then they'll communicate with me that, hey, we're seeing something. Can you guys come out here and look and see if you're seeing the same thing that we're looking at? And then because we handled the project, we'll make all of the contacts with the contractor and with FDOT.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions? How would we like to proceed? Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? We do not. Go ahead. Are you going to say something, Commissioner? Okay. On to the next item. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm opening the floor to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment on that particular item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. On to B. Update Direction Utility Assistance Program and American Rescue Plan ARPA funding.
First, I'd like to thank the mayor, all of the city staff, everyone that played a part in this program. I'm Crystal Lascada, the owner and lead consultant of Palatka Consultants. We work with the city staff to facilitate your utility assistance program.
Oh, gosh, that's loud. Oh, thank you. We work with the city staff to facilitate your utility assistance program through the ARPA funding that was available. If you'll go to the next slide. So I'm going to tell you about so I put together a presentation and it has the contents, the results, some of the information that we were able to take care of for the citizens here in the city of Palatka. Mr. Griffith sent me some questions to answer for you guys, and I put together those responses. If you'll go to the next, Sunny. I might need to put my glasses on. I already told you a little bit about the background for Scotty Consulting. If you'll go to the next one. So our goals were to, the ARPA funding was set aside to reimburse some of the city utilities for funding that they lost during the COVID pandemic. And our goal was to assist at least 100 families with their delinquent or past due bills. We achieved that goal. We actually assisted 126 families, and we made 141 payments on their behalf to either FPL, Clear Electric, or Palatka Gas Authority. The second goal was to recover at least $60,000 in debt owed to Palatka Gas Authority, and I'm pleased to announce that we achieved that goal as well, and we assisted them in recovering over $90,000 in past due funding. The next one, Sonia. So this is just a slide about the utility aid for the month of February, which was our kickoff month. We spent about $22,000. In March, we did a community event out with Mr. Cutright and his staff at the Jenkins Community Center. And that month we spent $80,000. In April, we finished up with 33
about $34,000, but we still have about 1,600 left, and I have a customer that I'm waiting to spend that last $1,500 on. And to give you, those are some of our testimonials, people telling us thank you, and they appreciate the city, they appreciate, and I'm telling them in the text message, you're welcome, but also please and call us the city of Palatka and thank them as well, because that's who put together this funding. And some of the numbers, we spent, an average $1,082 per customer. Play Electric was reimbursed $4,500. FPL received 41,000 and some change, and again, Palatka Gas Authority was reimbursed $90,032 for a total of 136. And I believe we started with like 138,000. Outstanding assistance, I have about. There's a question.
I think you were finna hit. I was wondering, housing authority.
Yes,
Go ahead.
okay, so we have about 41 applications still pending on my desk right now. Palatka Gas Authority still is seeing about 37,000 that they're owed. Palatka Housing Authority is saying that they're owed 20,000, about 21,000. FPL reported another 101,000 owed to them by the the citizens in the city of Palatka from the COVID. This is just the COVID timeframe. And I still have about 30,000 pending on my desk that if we receive additional funding could be processed right now.
Great. I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Because it says they had to be affected by COVID and delinquent during that time, what would be the process? That person would have to go and get a history of their bill, or how?
Nope, we did all of that for them. So Mr. Dennis Brett over at Palatka Gas Authority, very, very easy to work with. His staff, he had, thank you so much. He had one of his customer service reps assigned to just us.
Yeah.
And she would, when we send her the ledgers, and how they would apply they would send us an application. All of that stuff was done with us through either a jot form or a paper application. And then we would request the ledger from Palatka Gas Authority, and Tricia would send it over to us, and we would send a commitment back to her, letting her know what they were approved for. If it was FPL, my customer service representatives had access to the FPL portal. So we had our own FPL rep who worked directly with just me and my staff, and they would send us their ledgers, or we can go on the portal and pull it ourselves.
Excellent. Thank you. I was just wondering how you did. That's a lot of work. Good job.
Yeah, it's a lot of behind the scenes
Any other
stuff.
questions?
Just a comment. I want to just thank you for the phenomenal job you've done with the program. The first time we've had a chance to put money on the streets, and you have executed very well. You're one of our first ads. We got other things that we're trying to put on the streets as well with the rest of our ARPA funds. And so we want to thank you for the job that you've done for the city. Is it any way that we can get maybe some of the testimony, would you redacting the names of the people, maybe some kind of way that we can have something that we can celebrate here in the city?
Yes, I just didn't want to we have like a cell phone full of text messages, emails. I know it was all over Facebook.
Right. We certainly appreciate you for helping us help them.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And not only attaining your goal, but exceeding your goal. So thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I believe that she said there were
1694.
that's left, but I believe that she said that there's about 30,000 that's on your desk.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. I have a question that's presented to city staff. Is there an opportunity for us to look at other funding sources that would possibly allow us to bring this to a full resolve, maximizing alleviating the 30,000 that's on her desk?
Yes, and that's what we've been working together with even to this point. It's not just the 30,000, it's also the 20,000.
Right.
You know, so literally it's 50,000 that's really on your desk. And so what our options have been, what we have been doing is looking still at ARPA funds, primarily because of the eligibility process that Ms. Crystal followed. She made certain that all of the things that are on her desk, that it originated during the COVID period, okay? So that further justifies touching or spending ARPA funds. We had come tonight, previously, I think it's also in your packet. I thought I put it there, giving you a listing of the ARPA monies. And what's in yellow are monies that we haven't really probably proceeded, small business, vocational education, youth council, homeless, mental health, public health, sports complex. So when you look at the portion in yellow, that totals 428,000. What we were hoping is because of the overwhelming success of the project and the fact that we still have easily 50,000 that is right there, need to be funded. We would like the commissioners, if you would, to look at what's there and possibly you can reallocate 50,000, perhaps 60,000, because there will also be an administrative cost.
What about, Ms. Carty, right up under the highlighted area, it says utility assistant.
Exactly.
$150,000 already.
Right, and that's what we've spent.
You're minus 12,000, look like.
Well, that was just as of that moment.
Okay.
So all of that money is already exhausted?
Exactly. What we have exhausted thus far, commissioners, you all allocated 155,000. That's what was awarded.
Right.
And that 155,000 covered 138,000 for direct beneficiaries.
I have a recommendation.
Yes, sir.
With one, while we do have an active youth council, I would be willing to surrender that 23,000 to go towards funding additional funds that will go to our utility assistance program with the youth council. Again, we are active, but 23,000 I believe could be better utilized, and we would find funding for, I mean, a lot of the things that we have done is in-house type deals, book drives that hasn't required much funding, and I've submitted or rendered some of my personal funds, not personal funds, allocated funds to purchase or go towards that council as well. So I believe that this is something that I would be willing to relinquish, and that will give us just under halfway to that 50.
So give that 23, that'll leave us 37 to consider?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What
May I
about
make a comment?
vocational ed? Take-
One at a time, please. Go ahead.
I got it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Barr.
Well, I know we want to do that 23, but I thought we had already allocated the 23 for.
That's separate. The youth council and internship are separate.
Oh, I thought we had took it from there to do that. But in two, we got 2.5 in housing repair, 2.5 million. Actually, but if you say you wanna do that, but I think some of it can come out of maybe the housing repair allocation to
I don't see
assist.
$2 million.
No, we got two. Well, remember the program that we had, that's the 4.9 right there. I mean, 490,000. So we got the other 2 million that we got from the grant. So the monies were combined in order to do the whole housing program. So
Oh.
that's why I said the 2.5, but out of the 490, if we can just take a portion of that maybe and allocate to that to make up the difference of your 23.
What about
The,
this?
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner
I'm
McCall.
sorry, Commissioner, the part that's not, the unallocated portions are in yellow. Am I right? So
Oh, we done allocated, we done
Yes,
allocated all that already?
we haven't spent.
The
okay?
yellow.
Oh, it's allocated, but we hadn't spent it.
Right.
So it's already,
So
yeah.
is
Committed.
it possible for us, if he's gonna surrender the 23,000, if we can take 40,000 out of the voc, the educational portion?
Yeah.
Okay, the education.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Because we're
I
not.
can go with that.
Okay,
I can-
And
so
and
that
then
gives
that
you
would
in
give us
excess
enough.
of 3,000.
Right. You're right.
That's the
No.
catch.
If I
Yes.
believe this, Mayor, if you're
Go ahead
ready
and
to
read it.
entertain a motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Are you
Let's
gonna
go
go
ahead
ahead?
and make the motion.
Make your motion.
That we utilize the $23,000 allocated for the youth council and allocate 40 of the 80,000 that's presented for the vocational education and COVID-19 education towards the additional funding for our utility assistance program.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you for that expense report. That's awesome.
Go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to get clarification on the item before that we did not get a motion on.
What's that?
That was on 65,000 for the road resurfacing and the road reconstruction.
It didn't.
It didn't
There was
receive,
no motion made.
There's no mention.
right, so.
Bill.
It died.
So in that event, just want to be clear that we are facing the potential that that area will not be repaved.
For 65,000?
They said they'll go back to the, yeah.
They're gonna go back.
See what they come up with. Okay. Okay.
Commissioner comments? Commissioner Campbell,
I'll say it enough. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
I don't.
Commissioner Braun.
Well, just want to thank everybody for coming out to the town hall. We had a couple people in here that I saw from the resident side of things. They came out and discussed a few things as it relates to some issues and concerns and some promotional things for the city, but we had a really good time. And these town halls, they're good for people in the city to come out in an informal setting to be able to kind of share their issues and concerns and also provide some potential solutions or whatever. We'd always don't want to just hear complaints, but if you have a issue or concern, provide some alternatives so that we can help make our city better together. But we talked about some quality of life issues and some of the things that we've heard already tonight with the unsanctioned events and whatever. So we do have sanctioned events going forward, amplified noise, different things of that nature. Also, there was something to do with bringing more things to the riverfront, like movie night, and I did give Commissioner Campbell kudos for that to help. He does have those events from time to time, but there was an expression to have more movie nights and different things of that nature for the families, not just only youth, but just families as a whole to come out and enjoy some things at the riverfront. And it was also talked about a little bit about loud noise, vulgar music, unable to traverse the streets, just people are speeding in a number of different areas, shooting into violence or what have you. And also there was a request to have the Main Street program additional support. I need to circle back around and speak with that individual as it relates to that, myself and the city manager, and talk a little bit more about how we landed where we are today. And there's also another comment about chickens within the city limits and whatever. So I think these are things that the community need that for us to be there. So I try to meet the people where they are. I'd like to thank the commission for coming out, and for those who could make it, I thank them, and those who wanted to make it, I thank them as well. So that's all I have. And until the next time, the next one is targeted for Valhalla Hall at the St. John State College, and continue to move these things around, try to meet the needs of the community.
Commissioner McCaskill. Okay. And the only thing
Commissioner
before we-
Warren, I can have that chicken ordinance for your review at the next meeting.
Thank you.
The only thing I do want to mention, so we all remember, is that per Mr. Bell's contract, we are supposed to establish specific goals for him as the city manager within the first 6 months of his employment. And I think it's time by the next meeting to have some discussion about how to move forward with that, if everybody's in agreement.
I already have a meeting with him scheduled tomorrow. And so we've already had conversation, but thank you for bringing that up. So I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow.
Okay, but their HR did have some tools that, at least some formats to use, and maybe we need to have some consistency there. Mr. Jones?
Oh, that is, I got it from HR.
Would that be something that we would be working together so that we would all know and have the same information so that we could do that. We have never done, since I've been on DICE, done that in the past, and I think that's something that we should sort of like be on the same page with how it's gonna go, how it's structured, and what benchmarks that we're putting out there. So, could we actually workshop that, Mayor?
We could do that if that's what the board prefers, but that was my suggestion to bring it up, is that we're all on the same page and using the same approach, so we have that consistency.
Right.
That would be good.
Commissioner Burrow?
Yeah, the approach was that, the city manager normally, he'll meet with each, commissioner, mayor, whatever, and you set the, you and the city manager will agree upon, some initiatives and timelines, among other things, as it relates to the commissioner or mayor working with him, in both parties signs on. And so I've been doing them for the past at least 2 or 3 city managers. I'll put the evaluation, at least I'll do my evaluation, but we are supposed to do that through the, but I know I done one for Don Holmes, and I was prior to do one for another, city manager, but I have scheduled one for him, and we're using the evaluation form, the current form that we have for, the city now that is approved.
I could appreciate that, Commissioner Warren, but we have the city manager have 5 people that he report to. That is a quite a task for all of us to have benchmarks for him or anyone else to achieve, and it can be very tough. And I'm with whatever the board determines. So what I'm saying is to make it more uniform. If we together know what your benchmark may be the same as mine, so he wouldn't have to do it twice or duplicate it. If we would know what you're looking for, we may be looking for the same thing. And so if we could, among ourselves in the workshop, talk it out, what we're looking for, and have it and present it, because that is a bit much that he had to kind of like please 5 different people in a eval.
I understand, and that's a great point. But what the city manager does, based on what you as a commissioner, what you as a commissioner does, he does his collective, and he reconciles the priorities or whatever. So we know as a city what our priorities are.
We can talk about that in the workshop.
I think we need to,
No,
workshop. So we're all the same, I think, I just.
What I'm saying, we know as a city what our priorities are. Everybody should know up on the dais what our priorities are. So as we are giving him instructions, then those priorities, as we give him instructions, whatever we're giving him need to fit within the priorities. So that's my comments.
With all of that said, do we want to think about a workshop? What's the
Yeah,
majority think?
Workshop date,
Okay.
please. Sunday can get some workshop dates.
Happy to
down.
get some dates.
I've provided a list of dates in May and June already for workshops, so if you want to pick a date out of there for the workshop we already talked about in this workshop, that would be great, so don't send out dates twice.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And we'll